We're gonna talk it off first about the Galaxy S24 Ultra Plus and regular S24 because the newest beta update has been released and they've put out a bunch of good fixes in there. So bugs that have been fixed, they fixed the intermittent display error of the Nowbar controller, fixed lock screen notification setting error, fixed the issue with the icons appearing small on the widget setting screen, that's a good one. Fixed intermittent blur issues after setting up widget transparency, fixed font image overlap issues, fixed quick action menu spacing, fixed the issue where the gallery button does not operate intermittently, fixed notification history operation error, improved the media playback to display as a real-time notification, and many other improvements. So if you have S24, you have the beta, go out there and grab it. It is out right now. What does that make, the 5th or 6th beta, right? I think it's the 5th beta they put out, so pretty crazy for that. But still good news in the grand scheme of things. Now, my baby boy that I'm using right now, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 with One UI 7, also got its newest update. The second beta was about 686 megs update, and bugs that have been fixed. It fixed the battery widget image overlap, fixed the screen stuttering during home key operation, which I wonder if that works with, well, I'm assuming it also works with gestures. Maybe it's just the tapping of the home button. Fixed the screen refresh rate guide errors during games. Fixed calendar widget size not resizing. Fixed camera quick control button skew to the left. Fixed the media icon errors in the status bar. Fixed battery display error on the cover display, and many other improvements. I wish they would list like all of them out. I would love to know what the many other improvements are. And the only thing that I've noticed, I think it's an issue, it might not be, is I've noticed some apps won't update. Not a lot, very, very few, but it tells me like can't update. And it could be the app itself in the Google Play Store won't update, or it could be because I'm on beta, I'm not sure. But that's the only update issue that I can think about. I've had the issue with. I've had the issue where my phone won't receive phone calls. I restarted it, that fixed it, but that's only happened once on the beta. Beyond that, I'm pretty good. But yeah, what about you? Did you guys download that update? Not a huge update, but at least they're pushing one out. Next story is about the Nowbar. Let's see, Nowbar at the bottom. It's also showing up at the top. I don't know if you can see it at the top. I have the little thing I can tap there, and I have the Nowbar. You can see right there, it pops up. But ultimately, they're looking like they're gonna push out an update for this within GoodLock. The latest information in being rumored around is Samsung is developing an application for GoodLock module called Nowbar that expands with new features such as you can change the colors, you can change the size of the Nowbar, you can remove and insert animations, you can force support on all third-party apps. Only rumors are going around from the web. This is a cool one. Now, this is something that kind of surprises me, that we're not already able to do this with all apps. I guess you have to build it into the app itself in order for it to show up. But that is one thing I'm like, it would be great if they could force it, just like they force Instagram to be able to go multi-window and it's blocked on other platforms. It'd be great to see them put this into effect where any app, no matter what app it is, it can have that Nowbar feature. Got some interesting news about the Galaxy Z Flip Fan Edition. Now, I was gonna say Special Edition, but the Fan Edition, which is the lower grade Z Flip 7, which will come out in about August, but it looks like the Fan Edition will be released months after the Flip 7. So I would guess it's probably gonna come out in the fall of 2025, and then I don't think it'll work into 2026. It'll probably be 2025 release for it, and then when you do get it, it's reported to have an Exynos processor. It'll probably have, I think it'll still have 12 gigs of RAM. But like what it's going to be less about, probably maybe the displays are not going to be as big or as good on this versus what's on the Flip 7. So it's probably going to be something closer to like a Flip 5, I would guess, maybe even a Flip 4 in terms of the way it looks, versus what the Flip 7 will be all about with the bigger displays. The Pixel 10 is going to come with the Tensor G5, and from what I thought and I had heard building up to this is that it was going to be a pretty big jump in terms of performance. But it looks like it's not. The latest coming out is that the G5 chip is very similar to the G4 chip and G3 chip. So it's just a very modest upgrade, very minimal, but the camera tech is getting a little bit of a boost. And ultimately, when they have this all out in the open, they're actually, the way they built this chip, it's not really all in-house. It's a bit from here, a bit from there, a bit from there. It's kind of all over the place. So it really is in showing that they're going more towards lifestyle rather than just like the chip that's going to be able to do everything. Sure, you'll be able to game on this, but you're not going to want to do a lot of AAA gaming on this versus like what you'd want to do on one of the Snapdragon processors on the 8 Elite. And lastly, One UI 7, it's now official. April 7th will be the date that this comes out for the following devices: Galaxy S24, 23, Z Fold 6 and 5, Flip 6 and 5, Galaxy Tab S10. And ultimately what you're gonna get with this is obviously One UI 7, but you're also gonna get Audio Eraser, which is exclusive currently to the S25 series, and also Drawing Assist, which will come to the other phones as well. So all those features will come and we will get them. Very good news, and it's literally less than a month away. iPhone is about to change the industry forever, and I know a lot of you guys are going to be absolutely pissed off by this. Now, one of the ways they're changing it, just like Samsung, is they're coming out with the Air edition, the very thin edition. Samsung's is going to be called the Edge, but the iPhone 17 Air is going to be super thin phone, aluminum frame, somewhere between 5 and 6 millimeters thick. One camera, a single speaker. It will have 5G, no SIM card tray, smaller battery, and released in September. Samsung's obviously should be released in April probably, and will be kind of similar in a lot of ways, except it'll have more cameras and it'll probably end up being spec for spec, probably a better phone. But one thing it's not going to have reportedly is this thing right here in the middle. The latest information coming out is that the iPhone 17 Air will be Apple's slimmest iPhone, and according to reports, it will be the first portless iPhone. Now, Europe, also confirmed that Apple can launch portless iPhones. Hope this is not the start of an emission of charging ports like Apple removed the 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks and others followed. This is going to be the start of it. Guaranteed. We've been hearing that Apple is going to come out with a buttonless phone, a portless phone, just basically just use the phone. Obviously, they still have buttons. They've even added buttons to the phone recently, but now looks like they're removing the USB-C or Lightning, depending upon where you're coming from, charging port. It's going to be gone. You're only going to be able to charge it wirelessly, and that is definitely, without a doubt, going to trickle down to everyone else. I would bet. I mean, eventually it will. And you look at, there's almost no phones, especially premium phones, that have headphone jacks. Now, I do think, since wired charging is obviously so popular, so I don't think that it's going to go away next year. I would guess within the next 2 to 4 years, there will be, on premium phones on Android, no USB-C charging port. Zero, zilp, zit. I didn't even say the right words. There won't be. Zero. You're going to end up not having it. You're going to wirelessly charge it. Samsung will probably come out with something like what Apple has with their charging pad that goes on the back of the phone instead of having to use up the port. It's just going to cause a lot of difference, a lot of issues, I feel like. We're so ingrained in using wire charging. I almost never use wireless charging. I almost exclusively use USB-C charging. And it's just, man, it's a little bit of a craziness, but this is definitely a way of things to come. Samsung will probably do it next year or the year after on their slim Edge phone. Their Edge phone will have USB-C charging. But if you want these devices to get smaller and cheaper, because again, it removes another part of the phone, then it's going to end up removing things such as the USB-C charging, because that's, you gotta just look at it, it's a certain size to it, and it's gonna end up happening, and it's a super disappointment. And then what's next? Speakers? No speakers installed in the phone, since everyone just have a earpiece in their ear, or glasses that they wear that have speakers built into them. There's other stuff that will trickle down for this, but USB-C port looks like it's beginning its slow death decline. We're starting it off with One UI 7 and the release for the phones here in America, like the S24 and the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and Flip 6, and those phones that should be getting One UI 7. I'm not talking about the beta, I'm talking about the actual release date for those phones. It looks like it has potentially been changed, not for everyone, but for US potentially only, from April 10th to, we don't know. It still might be April 10th, but they've removed all the pages indicating that it was going to be released on April 10th. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on this, but as of right now, it might have been pushed back. We just don't know when. In a bit of good news, Galaxy S25 Edge, we've been hearing, at least through benchmarks, that it might use a 7-core Snapdragon 8 Elite. And that would mean that the benchmarks and the performance overall would be lessened by quite a bit. But it looks like the latest benchmarks coming out of Korea for the S25 Edge are really, really good, and they definitely compete with an S25 Ultra, and it looks like it's an 8-core, which is the full amount of cores on there for the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So you'd get the 2969 on the single core and 9500 basically on the multi-core score, which would match up, like I said, with the S25 Ultra. Again, great. So we'll wait with this, but this should be out in April. Now, I hate bad news, and we've had what, like basically potentially 2 stories of bad news in here, but the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Flip 7, we've been hearing, especially on the Fold 7, that we were going to get faster charging speeds, 45 watt wired, 25 watt wireless. It looks like wired speed might be wrong, the rumors that have been indicating that. The latest information coming out of filings and tests coming out is that the Z Fold 7 and Flip 7 will actually have 25 watt wired charging, not 45 watt wired charging. I guess the only bad thing coming out of that is, sure, it's not 45, it's 25, but the differences between 25 and 45 are very minimal in terms of 0 to 100. It's really great when it's at 0 to 50%. That's where you see some differences, but otherwise it's not a huge difference overall. So I like to say that. Not the end of the world, but at the same time, something that we were hoping for they would give us, and it doesn't look like they're giving us. It also makes sense that they might not be giving us that because it's a thinner, skinnier phone, and maybe they don't want to, or they're worried about the phone getting hot. Plus the battery reportedly didn't change in terms of size, so what's the big deal? It already charges pretty fast at 25 watts on a 4400 milliamp battery. So a couple things there it kind of makes sense that it maybe only is 25 watt. We're gonna jump in with the Galaxy Z Fold 7 first. We talked about yesterday how it's gonna most likely be 25 watt fast charging on there, which is the same as the 6 and basically every other Fold before it, but there's a little bit more information coming out from Panda Flash about this, saying that it's been 100% confirmed that the Z Fold 7 marketing rating is 25 watts, but still you will get a bit of improvement in charging time as you did with the S25 Ultra, because the Z Fold 7 can support a maximum of 28 watts internally. Now that's not gonna equate out to a huge, massive difference if this is actually coming out to be true and actually will charge at 28 watts part of the time when you're actually charging it. It would be very, very incremental, probably minutes less. It's not gonna be like 10, 20, 30 minutes less. It's gonna be like, I would guess 5 minutes less or something like that, if that. So don't expect anything too magnificently different, but I guess it's better than nothing, right? We can grab on to that part. Now, speaking of things that are different, the S26 Ultra phone is looking like it's gonna be kind of a different upgrade in some ways, especially in the camera department. The latest information with this is that we're gonna end up seeing the S26 Ultra ditching the dual telephoto camera setup and get a bigger battery at 5500 milliamps and bring back the Bluetooth S Pen, which is gonna be a huge, huge improvement for a lot of people. And you can see also with that 200 megapixel main and 200 megapixel telephoto. And if you didn't want this voice now, so I can pass it to me, that's what this guy's saying. S Pen has Bluetooth in the prototype right now and a bigger battery, like I said, 5500 milliamp battery. And those are pretty nice improvements. Obviously getting a higher megapixel telephoto lens on there, keeping the same 50 megapixel ultra wide, and probably the same main camera, but probably update a little bit with algorithms and things to take better photos. But throwing the Bluetooth back in there would be a huge help. Again, I don't even know why they took it out in the first try. It's gonna be weird if they had it in the 23 Ultra or 24 Ultra, removed it on the 25 Ultra, and then brought it back with 26 Ultra. It's really weird and almost doesn't make sense to me. And then also throw in a bigger battery for even better battery life, because this is an all-day thing. This is a great phone overall, and some of these things are definitely going to improve and make a lot of people happy for sure with those improvements. Better cameras, Bluetooth S Pen again, most likely, it looks like, based off these rumors, could change obviously, and then a bigger battery. We're going to talk about the Galaxy Z Fold 7, but we got to first talk about the Galaxy S25 Edge, which should be out in April, because it was a story that popped out that said it was only going to use 7 cores based off some benchmark scores that were being shown off about it. But the last few benchmark scores are showing 8 cores, which are equal to what you get on something like an S25 or 25 Plus or 25 Ultra. You can see this is the 25 Edge Geekbench score lately, 2969 and 9486. Which would equate out again to an 8-core full, which is the full 8 cores of the processor. Now, why and how does that relate to what we're talking about with the Galaxy Z Fold 7? Well, the S25 Edge is a super thin phone, really thin, and the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is supposed to also be very thin. So, have I heard anything about, the Z Fold 7 using 7 cores or 8 cores? I would guess at this moment in time, if the S25 Edge truly is using 8 cores, that you could pretty much lock it in that the Z Fold 7 would also use the full 8 cores of the Snapdragon 8 Elite. There's no reason why it shouldn't be able to if the Edge is. The Edge is going to be a thinner phone with less to go around, less heat disbursement. The Z Fold 7 is a lot bigger body and has more places to put things, so you'd have to guess at that point, it just makes logical sense that the Snapdragon 8 Elite full 8 cores would be inside of the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It just makes perfect sense. All their other phones that are flagship that have been put out this year have that Snapdragon 8 Elite full 8 cores processor, and it looks like I said the 25 Edge will have it, and I'd have to put my money on it that the Z Fold 7 would have it too. Earlier in the week, we also spoke about the wired charging, how it was rumored to be at 45 watts, and then the last bit of information based off some testing through government agencies is saying that it's 25 watt. We haven't heard anything about the wireless. We're still gonna stick with the 25 watt wireless at this point that would match up with the Galaxy S25 Ultra, but there's a probability it might only be 15 watts like the previous. So I'll stick and be a little bit positive about it and say it's probably going to end up being 25 watts, which is kind of weird because you can get 25 watt wired, 25 watt wireless. With there's probably going to be no magnet built into the back. You'll probably have to get a case that has a magnet built into the back so that you can take advantage of the Qi 2 wireless charging. All the other specs on there haven't really changed all that much from what we've been hearing. You're still going to get 12 gigs of RAM and 256, 512, and 1 terabyte of storage. The displays, recently we heard 8.2, but it looks like that's locked into 8-inch main display and 6.5-inch cover display. And I've been playing with my Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which is dead right now. Man, I had it. I got to charge it. But this has an 8-inch display and it is wonderful. It feels a lot bigger than the Galaxy Z Fold 7 lately. And then the outside display is, hopefully I don't mix this up, 6.3 or 6.4. I know it's smaller than 6.5. So all that stuff is bigger on the Galaxy Z Fold 7, which is really cool. I'm excited to really try that out. I know it's basically gonna be what the Z Fold Special Edition is, and I still haven't had my hands on that one, maybe one day. But the 2600 nits of brightness, the cameras are improved with the 200 megapixel main, the other cameras are all the same. Battery still the same at 4400 milliamps, Wi-Fi 7, improved speakers, which is awesome, I love that. The hinge, glass, and less crease are all improvements. Toughest foldable phone possible dust resistance, which would be amazing. They haven't had that on any folding phones ever. Z Fold 7 will measure around those measurements there, which would make it the thinnest Galaxy Z Fold of all time. New vapor chamber cooling to keep it running better and longer over a period of time. Button layouts exactly the same. They feel the same. Launching in July 2025, which will probably be around the first or second week of July, and the price would be about the same as last year. So I'm stoked about this still. Why wouldn't I be? Especially when it just makes sense that the 8 Elite will have the full amount of cores. Say if you're a big gamer or whatever, you see some sizable improvements Geekbench wise over the previous generation. So there you guys go. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Have a great day, and we'll see you down the road.